Hello, so a new thing for my channel is going to be film reviews, because I spend most of my spare time either going to the cinema or watching films, so it just seems to make sense. So my first review is going to be about Supermensch, which is a documentary created by Mike Myers, who some of you will know better as Austin Powers or Wayne from Wayne's World. It's about Shep Gordon, who was a long-time manager and friend of Alice Cooper, and it just follows his extraordinary life and career, and you also see where he is now in his life. And while you're watching this, the stories that unfold and the people he's known, the people he's seen, things he's witnessed, you can't believe anybody's had this life. You get to hear about the time that he met Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin by a pool in a hotel, which led to him managing them. I say that because, well, I don't want to give too much away, because discovering how we developed this career and got this life is quite fascinating, and I'd rather you found these discoveries from watching yourself. But as you'll see, how he ended up being a manager, slightly dodgy, but fascinating all the same. He grew up as in a normal Jewish family, not the favourite son of the family, with a bit of a cruel mother, but he went down a career route that a lot of Jewish men did at the time, that was being music managers. But the way he got his artists on side, I don't know, perhaps it was more normal for that era, I don't know, but it's not how you potentially expect someone to impress the people they're going to represent, but it seemed to work. There's some really humorous anecdotes and vox pops from the likes of Michael Douglas, Mike Myers, Sylvester Stallone, many more. They all have really good things to say him. It seems that although he could be ruthless at times, he always had morals. He was always extremely loyal, and if he felt he had a debt to pay, he would always make sure he did it. Maybe not straight away, but he'd always go back and make sure it was rectified. As I touched upon earlier, he has seen tragedy in his life through the deaths of Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Another tragic moment comes with the story of Teddy Pendergrass, who in his day was thought of as potentially the next Elvis, although in those days they called him the Black Elvis. He was sexy, he had the moves, he had a huge female fan base, and then he was in a terrible accident and he was left wheelchair bound. Once again, I don't want to give too much away about that story, but there's a particularly touching moment when you see the first time that the public get to see him after his accident. So that bit's quite moving. You also get an insight into his mind when he makes some odd career decisions, you might say. There's one particular client that he took on who didn't really fit in with his usual demographic of artists. And it was interesting how he used his connections in celebrity to push her career further and forward to places that it probably wouldn't have been able to reach on her own with her image and the sort of people that she appealed to. It wasn't just the artists he represented that people wanted to know or be seen with. He became someone that people wanted to be seen with, and he was able to get an array of beauties in his time. He had a lot of fun, places like the Playboy Mansion. Babes would flock to him, despite perhaps him not being, I don't know how to say this in a fair way, but he's not the obvious, let's say, poster boy or Hollywood movie star in the looks department, but he had charisma, he had power, he was loyal. There's something very warm about him, even though in Michael Douglas's Vox Box he says he could be, you know, an asshole or something similar to that. You see, despite, you know, the laughter, the amazing stories and the joy he's had in his life, you see that there is something missing for Shep. Despite the fact that he has a family in one respect, another tale which you'll learn from the documentary, which I don't want to ruin, you'll see that he never got to have children of his own, and that's something that you really feel is something that he wanted to accomplish, and maybe he still does. And that kind of makes you feel sad that despite how wonderful his life is, that is still a hole for him. That said, he has family in every sense of the word. He's got this open house policy in his place in Maui, so he's always got people coming in, he cooks for them, looks after them, and gets them through any strife or troubles that they are facing by giving them this sanctuary in this beautiful place and his company. Mike Myers, who created the film, talks very fondly about the time he spent with him, but he doesn't suffer fools gladly. Like, I get the feeling he would definitely know if someone was using him to get to the people he knows. When he hosts all these star-studded events at his house, when he cooks for people, he has a strict no talking about work policy. So everyone just chats like normal people. They chat about normal things, bond, and there's no one trying to get anything out of anyone or using anyone. It's just meant to be a happy, relaxing, genuine place to be. Some critics say that this is slightly fluffy, flowery, maybe a bit too much of the nice side of Shep, but to be honest, I came away feeling happy. I enjoyed hearing the stories, and it was nice to come away feeling good about documentary. For me, I watch documentaries because I want to feel something. I want it to make me think, and maybe even ponder how I live my life. And although most documentaries do that because they are sad or tragic or haunting or whatever, this one still achieved that. So for me, it was a successful watch. It made me think about karma and how you treat people and how that can come back to you. It made me think about valuing family and the genuine people in your life and embracing those people. It made me think about how important relationships are. But it also made me think about enjoying the opportunities I find myself in the music industry and the colourful characters I meet. And instead of getting bogged down with the negatives about it, you know, the lack of money, the politics and all that sort of stuff, that when I'm older I'm going to have some great stories to tell, and you know, I've got to suck it up and just enjoy it while I'm still in it. Also see how the Dalai Lama and Buddhism has affected his life and the positive stuff it's done for him, getting over certain things and just living a happier life in general. It's really touching to see that, how close, it's really touching to hear and see how close him and Alice Cooper are. Because I imagine over the years it must be stressful, particularly as a star that big, and it wasn't always a plain ride for him, but they're still close as anything. Apparently they always come in a two, and I think that's lovely that you can have that work and personal thing, because sometimes that can be really hard to juggle. I'm sure you've heard all about all those legendary Alice Cooper stories as well, and it's so nice to hear a bit more about how those came about and how much of that is fact and how much of that is myth. So to sum up, if you want a film that makes you smile, makes you laugh, thinks about life, has amazing celebrity-filled, just amazing stories from the past, a bit of drug culture, but generally a feel-good film, then I'd definitely recommend this. It's only 84 minutes long, so you can watch it on an evening and it's a pretty easy watch. It's not too strenuous, but really enjoyable. I actually really like Mike Myers' approach to the film. There's some really fun reconstructed flashbacks using actors. There's use of collage to create what he's trying to say about a certain point in the movie. There's really fun snippets from really well-known actors, which makes you feel like you're getting a real insight. And I actually like the fact that he hasn't concentrated too much on the negatives, and it's overall a positive film, but with enough of reality and the things that haven't worked out for Shep that you still feel that, you know, he's human, that this isn't too much of a fairy tale story.